Hello, and welcome in again to another edition of your favorite video podcast presented by WVSports.com. This is Musings from the Mountains, and I'm your host, Keenan Cummings, managing editor for the site.
And I'm staff writer, Patrick Kotnik.
Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Patrick, we might actually have some football, at least football voluntary activities to talk about soon. The Big 12 has approved, they've cleared the way for teams to return starting June 15th. That doesn't mean they will. Oklahoma's already declared that they're not coming back. The facilities aren't opening there in Norman until July 1st. But beginning June 15th, Big 12 teams are allowed for takeoff to bring in student athletes, as football athletes, let them work out, do voluntary stuff in preparation for the season. West Virginia has not made a declaration yet, at least publicly, what day that's going to be for them. But it's the first step of, let's go ahead and say mini, but an important first step, Patrick, if you want to see football this fall.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question I have as of now, I mean, of course, there's the issue of testing. Obviously, if you're going to let all these student athletes come back onto campus, how much testing is going to be available, what's going to be the protocols on that, all that stuff. And then also, how are they, there's also a question of how they're going to be integrated. I mean, the players that have already been on campus throughout this whole quarantine, are you going to try to integrate them into the voluntary workouts first, and then players, depending on hotspots and stuff, from where they're coming from, are they going to be integrated next? Still a bunch of questions, but yeah, this is definitely a step into football potentially being played this fall.
Yeah, I think this is going to come in waves. It would shock me if just everybody's back on campus June 15th. There's been some scuttlebutt. Maybe West Virginia does start around that time. And if they do, I think it's going to start with players that were here and then kind of cycle players in as time passes. But the goal, you want to hit that 6 to 8 week window when it comes to conditioning to have guys ready for the season. So if West Virginia is able to do that, get everybody back on campus, get everybody ready to go in the month of July, at least at the latest, you're definitely talking about the regular season starting on time. Does that mean you start it? Could it start with Florida State? Absolutely. Could it start with someone else? That's a story for a different day. There is a lot of things left to play out here, guys. Remember, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about potentially no college football season, and now we're welcoming players back to campus, and it's been only a few weeks. So this stuff changes by the minute, and it's going to be important to see how it progresses because obviously everybody wants to see college football for a number of reasons in Morgantown this fall. Speaking of college football, if it is played, and I have to keep saying I do think it's likely it's played now, but it's not fair to kind of
it's
lock
fluid.
it in.
The whole situation's very fluid right now.
It's very fluid. If it is played, what's that mean for fans? Well, Iowa State has been the first school to kind of float out a model based on the current guidelines. And that current guidelines is important because like everything else with this, it's going to continue to change. Right now, they're going to operate pretty much at less than half capacity of their stadium. 30,000 would be the limit under the current guidelines. And they're making that completely – nobody can buy single game tickets for Iowa State this year. If everything stays the way it is in the fall, 30,000 people, they all have to be season ticket holders with donations. So I talked to West Virginia officials. 7,500 is about the number that's been sold right now. And if West Virginia has to go to something similar to that, they're going to give priority to season ticket holders. Those people that make donations, the season ticket holders. So does that mean there won't be single game season tickets or single game tickets available? I don't know right now. I don't think they know right now. They're talking to health officials. They're going through a lot of contingency plans. And there's a lot of different things that can happen right now. But the good news is, if you want to say good news, is we're actually talking about a hypothetical college football season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a given too. Going back to the state, contingency plans, I think it's a given that season ticket holders would be given priority. Like you said, single game tickets is just a different story. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they just made it strictly, just season ticket holders and those renewing, season tickets. Just if you really want to monitor this whole thing. That might be the best way to do it, but who knows? I mean, this something could be completely different, 2 weeks from now. We don't know. It's a very fluid situation, but all signs are pointing to college football being played at, in some capacity this fall, whether, but it's gonna look different, obviously, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we could have some more answers June 1st. That's when West Virginia's season ticket priority deadline is. So after that, we probably have a better idea. But for now, let's just be happy about the fact we're talking about college football, because I know I miss sports. I know you all watching are missing sports. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this. It's not for
Probably
me.
getting tired of hearing us talk too about this.
Yeah. So we'll see how it unfolds. Speaking of sports with recruiting, West Virginia has one running back in the class, but it seems like things are really starting to narrow down for that second one. I think it's clear West Virginia wants a second running back in this class. Whether they can get it is going to be the question. Trenton Atkins from Virginia, he remains a top target. He's kind of a perfect complement to what Jalen Anderson, the current commitment, brings. You have Justin Johnson, the running back from Illinois, another guy to watch. Has made multiple visits just like Adkins. Will Towns, a newer name on the list, but I think a guy that definitely needs to be paid attention to. He's a guy that West Virginia likes and would like to get him on campus here as soon as possible once the dead period ends. And then finally, you got the new guy, old Morrell. Not related to Adrian, I believe. Deshaun Morrell, he is pretty dynamic. I think that he's a guy that West Virginia likes a lot. They got in late. He has 30-something offers, but they like what he brings to the table, and I think it'll be interesting to see how things progress there, especially once he gets on campus. So those are kind of your top four guys, I would say, if you could pair them with Jalen Anderson right now. But things are looking up for the West Virginia recruiting class. 8 guys committed. All have multiple Power 5 offers, and maybe some more here soon. You never know. With the dead period going, guys are making decisions practically every day. So it'll be interesting to see how it tracks. But we do want to remind you, we still have a few days left. If you get in before the end of the month, you can get all of our content for free, FREE, free. You just take our promo. There's links here. If you want to follow that, go to the site. We have links as well. It's in the bottom of pretty much all of our articles. Click it, put in the promo code, get coverage for free until September 1st. So check that out. I definitely recommend it. But this has been another edition of Musings from the Mountains.